Laurie. And I grew up in a house of musicians and did a lot with music growing up. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit here. But first I want to get us started out musically. Okay, so you have a handout in front of you, or you should. And at the top, it should say Shambhala. So we're going to get started with this mystical, magical place of Shambhala, where everything is like a utopia. Okay, so see if you know it. If there's just one part that you sing, it's the wow, yeah, 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 yeah. You can all sing that. I don't care if it's in tune. I don't care about any of that. But I'm just going to encourage you to join with me. Wash away my troubles, wash away my pain in the rain and Shambhala. Wash away my sorrow, wash away my shame with the rain and Shambhala. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, that just sounded so good. I think we're going to go ahead and do that next verse. Everyone is helpful, everyone is kind on the road to Shambhala. Everyone is lucky, everyone is so kind on the road to Shambhala. Here we go. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So nice to look around and see smiles on faces as you were singing that. So we know that the world isn't like this. This is the way we want the world to be, right? And some of us go through a lot of traumatic experiences in our lives. And I have to share with you, one of the reasons I was really happy to be here today is that the focus is on mental health awareness and things like that. So I am diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety and have been for many years. I'm very open about it because I want people to destigmatize mental illness, mental health issues, and also to give hope for people who think that, well, now that I have this diagnosis, I can't do anything. And that's not the case. You can live with it, you can manage it, and you can work through it. One of the ways that I've worked through it in my life is music. I'm fond of saying that God gifted me with music at a very young age because he knew I was going to need it to survive this life, but not just to survive it, but to thrive within this world. And so, again, at a very young age, I knew there was something I was going to do with music, but it wasn't going to be performing. It wasn't going to be education. But I didn't know anything about music therapy until I was about 16. That's back in 1982. So for some of you, you were alive then. Some of you, you weren't even a twinkle in your parents' eyes. And I heard this term, music therapy, and I thought, I don't know anything about it, but that's what I'm going to do with my life. I went a roundabout way to getting there because I wanted to make sure that my musical skills were honed to the extent that they could be before I actually started using it in therapy. So my career has spanned 27 years now, and I've worked with persons with mental health issues, older adults with dementia, cancer patients, persons who have Parkinson's, MS. I've worked in hospice. I've actually even worked in a maximum security prison. I've done a lot of things in music therapy. And the way that we approach music therapy with all those different populations, by the way, I hate that word population, but it's the word that we use to identify different groups of people. So it depends on who I'm working with as to what kind of music I'm going to use, how I'm going to use that music. So the other thing that I need to share with you is that my personal belief system is rooted in faith. And I truly, truly believe that God gifted us all with musical ability. Now, some of you are probably sitting there going, not me, or me not so much. When you think back even into biblical times when scripture says that David used music to soothe Saul's his torment, right? And the fact that when we're babies, we sing and we move in rhythm before we can speak and walk. So that tells me that we're born with the ability to make music. Not everybody has a specific talent for music, but we're all born able to make music. And I'm gonna prove that. Well, first of all, you just proved it yourself by singing along with me. But I'm gonna do something else here a little bit. I'm gonna play a little rhythmic pattern and ask you to either, with your boom whacker, to tap it out on the table there. So green things are boom whackers. They are a musical instrument, believe it or not. And you all have the same one, so it all creates the same note. So you want to make sure that you you tap it on the side there. Can you hear that note? Very good. Okay. Or you could use the egg shaker, or both. So I'm going to give you a little rhythmic pattern, and I'm just going to ask you to repeat it back. I'll just play it on my guitar. Look at that. Now, are you all schooled musicians? Some may be. Some may be. But again, how are you able to do that if you're not schooled? It's just within us. We get used to hearing different rhythmic patterns, we internalize them, and then we're able to share them. By the way, I will point out that I have 2 students here with me today. There were a ton more that wanted to be here, but they're in the marching band, and so today they have a game and a competition, or a field show, a festival. But you'll notice on the egg shakers, which are yours to take home, I asked them to write words of encouragement, or words or phrases. Some really went the extra mile and drew pictures and wrote quotes, and I don't know what they did. But I just asked them to write positive words. So when you look at your egg shaker, you just know that somebody was thinking about all of you here, that we're going to be here today. And I'll leave the other ones. I'll leave the extra, Nick, so if anybody wants them, they're welcome to have them. So pretty easy to demonstrate that you all have rhythmic ability, so you all have music that's born into you. So let me just share a couple of talking points. What is music therapy? How many have ever heard of music therapy before today? Yay! Wow, I'm not used to that. So why don't you tell me what music therapy is to the best of your knowledge? Erin? She thinks she's getting extra credit.
Music therapy is using music and musical techniques to achieve non-musical goals in treatment.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? What have you heard that it's for, or what it does?
Calm the soul.
Calm the soul.
I always just think of it as making people feel better.
Okay, making people feel better.
I think it cuts to the heart of the trauma.
Oh my goodness.
In trauma-informed care.
Absolutely.
As far as mental health and behavioral health goes. Because I have friends that do this and work in Johnstown and Somerset.
Wonderful.
And they're very successful at it with domestic survivors,
Yes.
rape victims, etc. and so on.
Yes. Yes, trauma-informed music therapy is very effective. You're correct. I'm going to give you a textbook definition. This is my mentor. His name is Kenneth Brusha. And I like it because I can break it down and specifically talk about what it is. So music therapy is the systematic process of intervention wherein the therapist assists the client to promote health using music experiences and the relationships that develop through them as dynamic forces of change. I'm reading that fast because you have it there in front of you. So systematic process. So it's not just a matter of walking into a patient's room or walking into a group and just deciding what you want to play today or what you want to sing today. It's really about taking a look at the needs of your clients or your patients and determining what course of action to take. So really there is a referral, assessment, treatment plan, evaluation, and termination process that happens within music therapy. Intervention. Most of the time it's music. If you're working from a music-centered framework, which I teach, I promote, I teach, and I'm hoping that my students will continue that forward, is that it's a music-centered approach. So most of the interventions are going to be musical, but of course there's also verbal interventions. There might be some physical interventions depending on who we're working with and what technique we're using. Therapist assists clients. So it implies that a therapist has that education to become a therapist. Music therapy is the only expressive or creative arts therapy that allows its graduates to go ahead and work in therapy with a bachelor's degree. They will, by the time they graduate, have 1,200 hours of clinical experience. So that's quite a lot. And we make sure that they are ready then to enter the field, especially with a 6-month full-time internship as part of that. So that's why we are still allowing it to be at a bachelor's level. All the other expressive arts therapists, it requires a master's degree. But it implies you have training. And it also implies that there's a client who understands that they are undergoing therapy. I used to do music in a waiting room of a hospital. I never called it music therapy because those clients weren't there. Those patients weren't there to see me or do music. They were there awaiting tests or results from tests or on a loved one who was going through a procedure. And the music was environmental. It was to create an environment where they could de-stress, calm down a little bit, relax. So they weren't there to see me, so they weren't my clients and I wasn't their therapist. So that's more therapeutic music. So sometimes there are people who go into nursing homes or go into a hospital and they're wonderful musicians. And they may go in and it's very therapeutic what they do, but it's not music therapy because they're not a therapist, a trained therapist, and the client or patient has not decided that they're going to be that person's client or patient. To promote health, and that's in all the spheres. That's physical health, that's mental health, that's emotional health, that's spiritual health, every kind of health and well-being you can think of. Through music experiences, songwriting, improvisation, lyric analysis, sing-alongs, and so on. And the relationships that develop through them. That's my relationship with the client, that's my music's relationship with the client, that's my music's relationship to the client's music, and all these interwoven relationships that happen within a therapeutic process. Dynamic forces of change. So we believe that this can help people truly and be a force of change in their lives. Now, Taryn gave a really good definition, and that's the American Music Therapy Association's definition that we use music for non-musical goals. However, there's also a body of music therapists that believe we can work on musical goals. Now, why would we do that? So if you ever followed Maslow's hierarchy of needs, does that ring a bell for people? And you've got your basic safety needs and so on. They have updated it in the last, I don't know how many years, to include aesthetic needs. So part of that, in moving towards self-actualization, and music therapy tends to be a very humanistic profession, so in moving towards self-actualization, if that's what we believe is important for people, to reach their best self, and to be able to move through the obstacles which might prevent them from reaching as far as they can, then this level that's aesthetic, it comes after all these other levels. If that's important, then my belief, my philosophy is that we need to provide opportunities for people to engage with music. My experience has shown me that when I've worked with people of a certain age, 50 and over, and I ask them to sing or I ask them to play, a lot of times they'll say with very hurt feelings, I can't sing. My choir director told me when I was 8 years old to just stand in the back and move my mouth. Or I have no rhythm. My family's always making fun of me because I can't keep a beat. And I've always pondered, why is that so impactful for people? And again, it goes back to, because I think it's your birthright to be able to express yourself musically. And no one has the right to take that away from you. So part of my journey as a music therapist has been to help people restore their sense of a musical self. So listening to music, that's wonderful, that's therapeutic. But research shows that actually participating in music, that's where the real healing happens. So that's why I'm engaging you and going to be continuing to engage you in a variety of things. Okay, any questions so far? Good? All right. So how do you all use music in your life? And maybe that's a question nobody's ever asked you. You're like, well, I don't use music, but I bet you do.
Exercise.
Exercise. Can't imagine doing exercise without music. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't be able to do it. Anybody else for exercise? What were you gonna say?
Sometimes when I had to memorize something like the 12 tribes of Israel, I did it mentally to music.
Yep.
And I can still do it that way.
Yep. Yeah, my stupid human trick is that I learned the 50 Nifty United States when I was 8 years old. So now I can recite to you all the states in alphabetical order. It has no use except for, like I said, stupid human trick. But because of that, because it was paired with music, I'm able to do that. Yes, who else? How do you use music in your life?
I use it to escape from life sometimes and also to express myself.
Okay. Who uses it on a long car drive? Okay. Who uses it to do housework?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Who uses it to maybe study with? I don't know. Study, okay. To relax, maybe to help you to go to sleep at night? Yeah. I use it when I go to the dentist. I can't stand the sound of the drill. I put my metal music on and I crank it up and then I'm good to go. Yeah, so you may not think of it as using music in your life, but you really are. You're intentionally turning on music for a specific purpose. And if we could just sort of harness that and do more of that, to be intentional about how we get music into our lives, I think ultimately we'll be better off. So I always talk about the 4 C's of the role of music. It can be a companion, it can be a communicator, it can be a container, and it can be a connector. Now, those overlap, so they're not real, strict boundaries there. But for companion, so how many of you have Spotify or something where you can create playlists? Yeah. So would anybody be willing to share with me a playlist, a title of a playlist that you have in your music library? Broadway.
I'm dating myself, but Simon and Garfunkel.
Okay. I have one that's called Daydream. I'm a daydreamer. I don't know about any of you, but I like to just sit sometimes and just dream about the future. Even if it's like really far out there, I just like to allow, and there are songs that really put me in the mindset to do that. Any others? Playlists? Yeah?
Hype.
Hype?
Yes.
H-Y-P-E? Hype.
Yes.
When did you use that one, Taryn?
I use that one if after this I have to go to work and I don't want to go to work, so I'll play music, or in the early mornings when I'm driving to school, I'll play it just to kind of amp myself up.
Okay. So in your playlist or in your library of music, however you have it, whether it's still on the vinyl, which I'm still a fan of, or if it's on CDs, or if you're into all the streaming devices and things like that, in your library, do you know which songs to go to when you're feeling lonely? Or when you're feeling angry? Or when you're feeling joy and don't have somebody to celebrate it with you? Right? So, what's that?
I said all the time.
All the time. So if we started using our library sort of like a medicine cabinet, so that we could that we would know which songs we could gravitate towards when we're feeling a certain way. There's something called the ISO principle, and maybe some of you have heard about that. It's the idea that once you find something that matches your mood, and then you change that thing, in our case it would be music, you change the music, it can lift you out of that mood or take you to a different mood. But first it has to match that mood. So I used to work with adolescents with mental health issues, and they were all listening to death metal. And the therapists were like, you gotta get them out of that. I said, no, I don't. But what I did tell them, I said, if you only listen to that, it's going to have the effect of spiraling you down, and you're gonna get to a point where you are really low. So listen to it, let it match your mood, and then decide, okay, now you're not gonna go maybe to Broadway on the other end of the extreme. You're gonna have to find music that, okay, how can I get from death metal to, maybe I just go with metal, then maybe I go with rock, hard rock, progressive rock, and then I go to classic rock, and sort of, so I help them create playlists that they can turn to in different situations. But we can all do that. We can really all do that. And I will say this too, I'll caution you that just because a song makes you feel one way today, it's not necessarily going to make you feel the same way the next day. That's what's so wonderful and infuriating about music, is that we can't quantify it. We really can't quantify it because we have associations with music. And so sometimes that association is great, and you're in a wonderful relationship, and oh, that song is just, and every time you hear it, you just feel warm and fuzzy, and then something terrible happens, and then you hear that song, and it takes you back, and it's not a good experience. So we have these associations, so we can't really tell one day to the next, but we can start creating and curating these playlists for ourselves, so that we don't necessarily, a lot of times when people have mental health issues, they often will, along with their medication, and I do take medication, maybe have a glass of wine or something harder, and then maybe 2, and then maybe 3 to numb the pain or to just not feel anything. So what music does is it helps them feel the feelings, and it provides a support while you're feeling that feeling. And the nice thing about music is it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Songs are about 3-4 minutes, unless you're talking like Stairway to Heaven or something like that. It's probably 6, 7, 8. I don't know. There's one song that's like 11 minutes long. I can't think what it is. But you know that when that song ends, maybe you can just let some of those feelings stay with the song. You can move on to another song, or you can move on to something else. It's just a period of time when you can focus, let it out, and then move on. So that's companion. Communicate. Songs communicate to us, for us. They communicate for us about ourselves or about our situation. I was just telling students the other day that music functioned as a parent to me a lot of times. There were things that I needed to hear that I wasn't hearing from anyone. So that, for instance, the song Billy Joel's You're Only Human. You're bound to make mistakes, and it's okay. That parented me, and songs like it parented me. So it communicated to me. So I'm going to play a couple of snippets of songs you might be familiar with, and I just ask that you sort of just listen. You can sing along if you'd like when you hear them. They're not on your paper, so it would just be from memory. Sing along, see which one resonates with you today. I got a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down, 'cause I'm already standing on the ground. Or maybe it's raindrops keep falling on my head, and just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. Or is it, hopefully not, I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction, 'cause I try, and I try, and I try, and I try. I can't get no, 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 no. Or, especially for you, slow down, you move too fast. You gotta make the morning last, just kicking down the cobblestone, looking for fun and feeling groovy, feeling groovy. So how many are peaceful, easy feeling? And you can be more than one, okay? I have 1 or 2. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Yeah, okay, sorry. I can get no satisfaction. Feeling groovy? All right, so you can relate to all of those. So yeah, so music can communicate to us. It can sometimes say things better than we can say for ourselves. I write music, but I have a hard time with lyrics. That's why I'm a music therapist. And so sometimes you just hear a song, you're like, oh, I could have written that. That person is saying exactly what I wanted to say, and in such a beautiful way. The next thing is that it can be a container. And so I already said about how it can contain feelings. If you don't have a whole lot of time to spend feeling a feeling, that song can give you sort of a little bit of an outlet before you have to move on with your day. But also, because of the song and because of writing songs, it only gives you so much time to say what you need to say. So on your paper, you have, I think I called it a positive affirmation. Let me see if I have a copy of that here. I probably didn't give myself one. Yeah, positive affirmation. So I'm going to just use the song Michael Row the Boat Ashore. Now, when I use songs like this, I make sure that my clients understand that I'm not trying to impose any particular religion or faith onto them. We're just using it as a template. So that's why, well, I'll sing it. If you know it, please sing it with me. Michael row the boat ashore, hallelujah. Michael row the boat ashore, hallelujah. Very nice. So we're just using it as a template. Instead of Michael, I'm going to invite you to put your name there. And I don't know if you have any writing utensils, but even in your mind, your name goes there first. You are what? So it's like the song is going to be your positive affirmation. So what do you need to hear today? You would put that there. So Laurie, you are strong and kind. Now I can keep hallelujah if I want, but if I'm averse to that, then I can say, you can do it, or you will succeed, or what have you. Is there anybody that could maybe take a chance and give me your name and your adjective that describes you, or something you need to hear about yourself, something that you wish others would see in you, something that you need to believe about yourself, and then either hallelujah or something else. Anyone?
Okay, name is Chris. The adjective I'll use is hardworking.
Okay. And then do we still just say hallelujah?
Sure.
Okay. So we're all going to sing to Chris. Chris, you are hardworking. Hallelujah. Chris, you are hardworking. Hallelujah. Chris, you are hardworking. Hallelujah. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
Very nice. Anybody else? Is that a hand? I'm a teacher. Anytime I see a hand move, I think somebody either has a question or wants to say something. No one else? It's okay. It's all right. One of the times that I used this, I was working with, it was a weekend retreat for persons who had lost a loved one. And so we used this as something that they wanted to say to that loved one. And I can't tell you how impactful this tiny little song, but it said so much because they had all these thoughts and feelings about their loved one, but they only had this much time to say it. And to hear everybody singing it about their child or their spouse or whomever it was in their life was very impactful. So something simple like that. And so that's songwriting. We call it lyric substitution because we take an already familiar tune and we just replace the words. Because it's hard to write an original song. It takes time. And I do that with clients, but we need that. Sorry, I'm just checking my time. Wait a second. Okay. I thought I was over. It takes several sessions usually to write a full-fledged song with original lyrics and original music. So we often use lyric substitution to help people to get their thoughts onto paper. And oftentimes also with music, it's here and then it's gone. This is something tangible that they can take with them. I wrote this. These are my words. It goes to this music. And though, just like you were saying about the 12 tribes of Israel, remembering that with music, it's the same kind of thing. So we often talk about positive affirmations and how beneficial that can be to just keep telling yourself, I can do this, or you're great, you're wonderful, you're, whatever. But when you pair it with music, you're likely to just sort of keep humming that, even if it's not out loud, but in your mind. And so that has the effect of relaxing you, making you feel more confident. Okay, so let's see. Find my other piece of paper here. Okay, and then connecting, and we're going to do some more of this. Connecting, the music functioning as a connector. It connects you to yourself, connects you to other people. What I think is probably most beneficial is this idea of connecting mind and body. Because I'm sure you understand that if you're feeling terrible in your body, it's going to affect your mindset. Conversely, if you're feeling not so great up here, your body's going to show it and feel it, right? So if we can get the mind and the body, first of all, to talk to one another, to be on the same plane, and then to move it forward into a positive space, to a more relaxed space, that's going to be better for us. So I'm pretty passionate about the concept of flow. Anybody do yoga? Okay, so you understand flow in terms of yoga. music flow, right? And we talk about the ebb and flow of life, because we're gonna go up to mountaintop experiences, down and then down in the valley, and up and down and up and down. And so if we can try or learn how to sort of remain on an even keel throughout, we're not going to get thrown so much. Oh, everything's wonderful and beautiful. Next morning, oh, I can't believe this just happened, and life sucks, But if we can sort of just say, okay, I'm going to take the good, I'm going to take the bad, and I'm not going to get myself really drawn up into the whirlwind of chaos and drama that can sometimes surround us and make us feel not so healthy. So flow in music, we talk about from the standpoint of multitasking. Now, if you're a multitasker, God bless you. And I try to do it too, but you probably know as well as I do that when you try to do two things at once, you're not going to do either of them to the best of your ability. Research is even showing that multitasking is not the hype, not the hype, or it doesn't deserve the hype that it gets. However, in music, we have to multitask. We're using all the parts of our brain, and they're all talking to each other in ways that they don't speak to each other when we're doing anything else. That's how special music is. Even so much that it can help rewire the brain so that somebody who has experienced a stroke, there are certain pathways that are no longer working. And what music can do is it can help another pathway form that they're able to regain some function, whether it be communication or gait or what have you. So it's a whole brain activity. It's also a coordination. When you're playing music, when you're singing, you're also thinking of the words. Your respiratory function is it's started and it's working effectively, and you're voicing your sounds, and you might even be moving to it. All of these things are happening, and when they're happening all together, there's a flow about it. And so the more that we can engage in music where we are using different parts of the brain and trying to coordinate different things, the more motor memory kicks in, and you feel like, okay, yeah, I'm grooving to this, right? So that's what the boom whackers and the shakers are really for, is to participate in some music making where you're going to be using both of your hands, and I'm going to encourage you to sing as well. You can feel free to tap along, move however you'd like, just to see what it feels like to really try to immerse yourself and embody the music. So the first one, let's see, is, okay, We Will Rock You. Now, love this song, love Queen, okay? But I started looking at the words, and the words weren't all that positive. So I took the liberty of changing it a little bit for our purposes. Buddy, you're all that. Make a big noise playing in the street, gonna do great things someday. You got a smile on your face, you're full of grace, demonstrating strength all over the place. You're shaking your head, I know. Freddie would probably roll over, but I just couldn't say I couldn't sing that today. I couldn't sing you're a disgrace, got mud on your face. I just couldn't do it. So we're gonna do it without the guitar. And you know that traditionally this song goes with a stomp, clap, right? You're welcome to do that, or you're welcome to, with whatever hand you want to have the boom whacker and whatever hand you want the shaker, to do boom, boom, shake. Boom, boom, shake. That's it. You keep that going. Buddy, you're all that. Make a big noise playing in the street. Gonna do great things someday. You got a smile on your face. You're full of grace. Demonstrate your strength all over the place. Singing, we will rock you. We will here that we got. Very nice. Okay, so for the next one, Stand By Me, we're going to do something a little bit more challenging with the rhythm. I realized I could be using this. So this sort of has a calypso feel to it. Let me just play a little bit on the guitar. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do boom, boom, cha cha, cha cha. Good. Everyone for 1 second. Make sure that's a good tempo for us. And again, I'll go through it one time. Don't worry about singing that first time, but the second time I'll encourage you to sing just to get a feel of, oh, you're doing so many things together and you're holding it together. How amazing. It's wonderful. All right. Bum bum. Cha cha. That's it. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Try singing. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Woo! Nice work. That's not easy to do because you're doing this little rhythm. You're singing a completely different rhythm from what you're playing. Nice. Okay. Next one is Lean on Me. Let me see how I want to do this. So we need 4 groups. There's 4 groups, and we're just going to use the boom whackers for this one. I don't know how to divide you up. Okay, over here is 1. Okay. You 3 are 2. You 3 in the back are 3, and you 2 are 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And all we're doing for here is we're going to keep the beat. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Nice. You got the idea. So the tricky thing is we don't want to speed up. We don't want to slow down. You all right? You okay? You're trying to see what it sounds like on your wrist?
Yeah, I guess that's what he's doing.
Or together. You could do that. You could do that. You know, that's one of the nice things about playing instruments. Short of using them as a weapon, pretty much everything else is fine, right? So if you want to do that, or with your partner, you want to, tap together, be creative. I once had a beautiful set of linen rag drums, all different sizes, and I had a client who wanted his peers to hold them as if it was a drum set. So first year of my career. And he just wanted to play the drums, but man, he went whack, whack. So I still have the drums, but they have nice little holes in them. So I've learned to give a little bit of information that, okay, yes, play how you'd like. However, don't damage the instruments, don't damage the person next to you, or anything else in the room. But it's all right, it's all good. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just give you a tempo here. Okay, I'm gonna count you in. You ready? 1, 2, ready, and keep going. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Okay, keep going. Now, if you can sing this next verse with me, give it a try. Please swallow your pride. Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Just call on me, brother. And you all need somebody to lean on. Just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be there. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long. I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. All right, not bad at all. You kept it together. You worked as a team. We couldn't have done it without each one of you, right? Each group was important. There's no beat that's less important than another. Okay, let me just check my time here. I'm ending up a little bit early here. So, what I guess I would just like to say is that I would just really encourage you to get involved in making music somehow. Karaoke nights. Get together with friends at a, campfire night or fire pit night or something like that and just sing songs. When you are listening to your music, sing along, tap along. If you play an instrument, or it's never too late if you don't, right, to pick up the guitar. Guitar is a little bit easier to pick up than the piano. I mean, literally. But what questions might you have for me?
Is this used for treatment or therapy for autism?
It is. That's a big area. That's a big area. It's grown over the years. It's still one of the when I look and see where job openings are, it's usually working with children and adults, and especially those who have aged out of the system. It's now, there's a waiver system now where music therapy is a service that is able to be provided for those that are, I can't remember if it's 21, where they age out of the system as far as having those kinds of benefits, so that they can continue to have music therapy if that's something that benefits them throughout their life. Because that's the thing, I mean, not just persons with autism, but with other kinds of disabilities. There's all these services when they're a child, even through adolescence, and then all of a sudden there's nothing. And so I think a lot of different agencies are trying to rectify that, and we're really excited that music therapy is part of that.
Where are music therapy services available in this area?
In this area, that's a good question. You said you have friends that do music therapy?
I do. Well, I would recommend Yoga Song with Rachel Allen, and she would be in Moxham.
Okay.
I think she would be a very good resource. I know she's been here.
Oh, really?
2 years ago, and
Nice.
we have my function. And,
Okay.
She's introduced me to a few other people that she does musical therapy with, but
Okay.
I don't know their names offhand.
That's okay. My email address is at the top there. If you want to reach out to me and ask me that question again, I will certainly search our database.
Okay, I'm looking for something for a grandchild
Oh, okay.
who has a special needs grandchild and autism as well as a genetic disorder,
Okay.
and just he can't communicate, but he can match pitches.
Yeah. Yeah.
He gets frustrated, but when you start to sing to him, all of a sudden he just sort of de-escalates. So
Mhm.
I'm just thinking a music therapy
Oh, yeah.
sessions would be helpful for all of us.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind emailing
I'd love
me
to.
so
Thank
that
you.
I can, remember
Yes,
to
thank
do
you.
that. But I will look for you. I know there has to be somebody in this area that's working in
At
that.
one point in time, I did see someone in Greensburg. That was probably about last year around in December, last fall probably this time. And I haven't looked since, but,
Well, I mean, there's a number in the Greensburg area, for sure.
okay,
So just email me. I'll get you some names and numbers, and you can.
thank you.
Yeah.
Other regions too, like the Harrisburg region.
Oh, there's tons.
Okay, good.
There's tons. And in fact, I find that central to eastern PA are saturated with music therapists because there's more opportunities than there are southwestern Pennsylvania, unfortunately. I'm from Greensburg originally, and like I said, I've been doing this for 27 years now. When I came back to the Greensburg area, I thought, 10 years, I'm gonna have everybody know what music therapy is, and everybody's gonna want it, and I wanted to really do something great in Greensburg, in the Westmoreland County area, and have art therapists, and drama therapists, and movement therapists, and music therapists all together providing services. Sadly, and I say this with affection, Greensburg's not the most progressive area, in the world. So, to give you an idea, when I went into my training as a music therapist in 1992, I had people from my church saying, "Laurie, isn't that voodoo?" I mean, literally. So I know that's like 30 years ago, but still, there's still a lot of ideas about music therapy that are just, they just don't understand what it is and what it can do and how beneficial it can be. We're still struggling with that.
Where did you do your training?
Temple University. Yeah.
In Philadelphia?
In Philadelphia. Yeah, I lived there for a few years.
I'll just share that for a bit, but I was at Slippery Rock in the mid-70s, and I took a music therapy class. It was new to me, obviously, and for 20 years after that, I never heard anything more about it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so,
Wow.
yeah, and I've lived in this area all of my life too, so it's not anything that's been, I have recently, again,
Right.
but for a long period of time, there wasn't much
Right.
word about music therapy out there.
Now, sometimes when something hits the news, like with Gabby Giffords, she utilized music therapy to regain her speech. So when something tragic happens, unfortunately, and music therapy can help with it, then we get in the news and everybody wants to be a music therapist and so on. But yeah, it's still a struggle to help people understand what we do. So hopefully this went a little ways in doing that.
If I could put a plug in, Marius Biesecker Library does rent out ukuleles to patrons, so if you have a library card there, you're welcome to come and check one out.
That's terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah, why did I say guitar? Ukulele is even better than a guitar.
I can play a ukulele.
Yes, that's terrific. That's wonderful.
I just bought my grandson a kazoo, so I thought maybe that'll help. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Other questions or comments?
Nick, you said this will be available on YouTube?
Yep.
A YouTube?
Yep, I'm recording it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being willing to participate. I know sometimes you're faced with like instruments right in front of you and I'm saying sing and play and everybody's like, whoa, calm down. But I hope that you were able to get a taste of, what it's like to just be immersed in music. And it's not about ability. It's not about the adjectives good or bad. It's about just connecting with music, that musical part of yourself that's already there, and waking it up a little bit. So thank you, and you're welcome to take those egg shakers. I do need the boom whackers back, I'm sorry. But the egg shakers are yours, and Nick, like I said, I'll leave the other ones and you can pass them out as you see fit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.